Maps. Remember these things? When I was a kid, we would take these long road trips every summer. Dad did most of the driving and Mom did most of the navigating. She'd be in the passenger seat staring at some map, flipping it over, turning it around, trying to figure out where we were on our journey. Today, it's easier. With a GPS or even your smartphone, you just type an address into the app and in seconds, you're routed to your final destination. Some even navigate you around traffic and construction along the way. But no matter whether it's a map or a GPS, at some point on your road trip, you're bound to hear the familiar questions coming from the back seat. Are we there yet? How much longer? Are we still driving? You see, when it comes right down to it, road trips take time. And following directions from a map or a GPS takes some trust. Because even if it feels like you just made a wrong turn back there, you trust that the directions being given to you will actually get you to the end you have in mind. But sometimes those road trips seem like they take forever, like you're never going to reach your destination. And even when you start to ask, will we ever get there? Before you start breaking the speed limit and get pulled over, just wait. Be patient. You'll get there eventually. Because let's face it, it's not just road trips. It seems like we're faced with waiting for something or someone all the time. That's why we're taking this month to discover how we can show patience. Patience is waiting until later for what you want now. When you're patient, you show that you trust that waiting is better than hurrying to get it done. We're hoping that kids learn the value of delayed gratification, not only with what they're waiting for, but also with themselves as they become more patient. The Bible's full of stories and principles that help us discover the importance of how to be patient. We'll kick off the month with one of the best examples of what happens when you're not patient. You lose something of value. It's the story of Esau. If you spent much time working with kids, you know that food is the economy of children. This is why there may be no greater example for patience than that of Esau sacrificing his birthright for a bowl of soup. Because Esau was impatient. Because he was focused only on the immediate gratification, he lost something that was much more valuable. Kids will discover that when they think they can't wait, they should think twice. In the second week, we're going to a story that takes place when the Israelites are at the foot of Mount Sinai. Instead of obeying God and waiting for Moses to come down off the mountain, the entire nation of Israel grew impatient. They built a golden calf and began to worship it instead of worshiping God. And because of their lack of patience, God judged an entire nation. Kids will learn that when they think they can't wait, it's important to think about what's true. In week 3, we'll take a look at what Solomon said about patience. He tells us in Proverbs 14:29, anyone who is patient has great understanding, but anyone who gets angry quickly shows how foolish he is. How we respond to waiting shows others our character. Getting frustrated and angry doesn't make the wait any less, it just makes us look foolish. So when you think you can't wait, don't lose your cool. As we continue learning about patience, we'll take a look at a woman who gives us an incredible example of how we can wait well. Hannah has waited for years for a child. Rather than become frustrated and angry toward God, she prays and tells Him all about it. When God answers her prayer, she gives her son back to God. He honors her waiting, and she is blessed with even more children. Telling God about your waiting is a great lesson we can all learn about how to show patience. We'll wrap up the month on patience with the story of the crucifixion. The world has been waiting for a Messiah, a rescuer, and when Jesus had finally showed up on the scene, His disciples were ready. They figured this was it. Jesus would be the king. Their waiting would be over. So when Jesus was found guilty and crucified, they must have felt so defeated. They didn't know at the time that God had something different in mind, something better for the world. Through this story, we want kids to remember that when they think they can't wait, they should remember that God's plan is bigger and better than they could ever imagine. And their waiting will be worth it in the end. While we're discovering what God has to tell us about patience, we'll be memorizing Psalm 27:14. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and don't lose hope. Wait for the Lord. Thankfully, we don't have to wait in our own power. Our hope is in God. He will give us the strength to remember that it's worth the wait. Sometimes, learning patience is like a long road trip. It doesn't happen in a moment. Becoming patient takes time. As leaders and parents, I think one of the things we need to remember during this month as we talk to kids about patience is how important it is for us to be patient with them as they develop patience. I have a feeling that this month we're all going to learn a lot about patience.